Surf Ninjas, far better than fucking Wimbledon. The movie, that is, not the tournament.
Wow. Well, that says a lot. Hello, you are listening to Off Radar, It's a Movie podcast. I'm James Smith, a professional film and video editor.
I'm James Etok, a freelance writer and illustrator specialising in 1980s cartoons.
And I'm Neal Brock, aka Nige, the man with two names, former film journalist and currently working in the games industry.
Each week, one of us picks a movie that all three of us either haven't seen in many years or in some cases haven't seen at all.
We each watch the chosen movie, return to the microphone and let you all know exactly what we thought of it.
He desperately needs her to survive.
It sort of handled some incredibly delicate topics incredibly well.
I will never watch this again. What was that?
If you fancy joining in and suggesting a movie for us to watch, why not tweet us at Off-Radar Podcast?
Or email us on offradarpod@gmail.com.
If you like what you hear, please subscribe, share, and by all means, leave a review.
For now, strap in, turn the volume up, and let's go Off Radar.
I'm James Smith.
Let me just go and change my shirt.
All right. Hello and welcome back to Off Radar. My name is James Smith, and today, as always, I'm joined by Neal Brock.
Party hard, dude.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Who we call Nige.
Hello.
And James Etok.
Hello.
No, cool.
Not playing that game.
You said cowabunga. This is.
I nearly said cowabunga.
Well, you may as well have. So today we are talking about a film called Surf Ninjas, which was came out in 1993. Well, first of all, had any of us heard or seen it before?
Absolutely not. No.
No, I had not seen or heard of it.
I've never even seen it in a video store during the 90s or the noughties. Just if I'd have seen it, I'd have probably rented it. But no, I'd never even heard of it.
I just remember when I heard we were doing Surf Ninjas, I thought, oh, this must be one of those, three ninjas on Hook Mountain, or one of those films, with Hulk Hogan in without moustache. Nige, what's the name of that film?
I don't know. It sounds terrifying. Suburban Commando.
Is it three ninjas on Mega Mountain or something?
There's a lot of those sort of films.
Yeah.
Where it's there's three ninjas. There's never two ninjas or one ninja.
No, you got three.
Yeah, three ninjas.
Well, this film is just called Surf Ninjas, so not three of them. But
who chose this?
So, well, there we go. So, this was actually recommended by a friend of yours, Nige.
No, it's one of our avid listeners who I have no personal association with, surely, because we've got such a big fan base. Hi, Michael Burling.
And so the email went into Nige, who was operating the inbox that week.
Smooth operator.
That was brilliant. That tickled me.
Oh, dear.
That's good.
And like we say, none of us had heard of this. It was just read very quickly. It was directed by Neal Israel. It was written by Dan Gordon. It stars Ernie Reyes Sr. and Ernie Reyes Jr. And then also a very young Rob Schneider.
You say that. He's not that young.
Isn't he? No. Oh, he looks young. And Leslie Nielsen also pops up. So, Nige, I wonder if you could give us a little bit of a rundown of what this film is about.
Basically, there's two boys called Johnny and Adam. They're people who've been adopted, living with this dude in California surf town. They like to surf. They mess about at school. And lo and behold, it turns out they're actually princes from some made-up place halfway around the world and are trying to be murdered by ninjas, which is led by Leslie Nielsen wearing some sort of robot mask and being half android. So, yep, that's pretty much the size of it. And then they go on epic adventures with their Sega Game Gear and... Oh, yeah.
It's
pretty out there.
It's a
Put it this way, here's the best way to sum it up. You can watch it on YouTube for free.
Yeah.
It's basically that kind of classic 90s film of just irrelevance, relatively childish humour, the odd action scene, and like a ridiculous story that kind of plays homage to kind of like Indiana Jonesy type films, even going as far as to have like the map when they're traveling across the world. But
when did this film come out? What year was
93.
it?
1993.
Do you think the thinking behind this is me trying to be funny, I was thinking at films around the time, did they go, well, number one, Ernie Reyes, for those that don't know, was in the second Ninja Turtles movie as a character, but in the first Ninja Turtles movie, he was in one of the Turtles costumes, if I remember correctly.
I think we did discuss him, yeah. So also, it's worth saying that we did a podcast on the first Ninja Turtles film.
The longest one we'd done at that point.
Yeah, so go back and check this out.
This film may top that. This film may be longer than that. But yeah, so Ernie Reyes Jr., I knew the name, so I was like, oh, that's going to keep my interest. But I do wonder if this film was kind of pitched as Ernie Reyes Jr. has just been in the second Ninja Turtles movie, Secret of the Ooze, alongside Kevin Nash. And, from that, maybe we can do like some sort of kung fu movie. What else is around at the time? 1992, I'm going to guess, as it was called in America but not over here, Encino Man, California Man.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, with Brendan Fraser and Pauly Shore.
Brendan Fraser and Pauly Shore, and I'm guessing maybe that was kind of like, oh well, people like the dude aspect, and honestly, people if you weren't around at the time, in the early 90s, the whole surfer culture was huge, and the whole Ninja Turtles thing was huge. Even still into 1993, Power Rangers just come out. So Nige's going to come with his legit.
Yeah, I can add a bit more to this. So Etok's absolutely right in the fact, like, it was based off the success of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film, but there was also the element of, in 1989, there was a film released called The Wizard, which had like the kid from the Wonder Years in, and that was largely based around a Nintendo game. So it was like the release, I think, of like Super Mario 2 or Super Mario 3. Now, this is kind of Sega's version of... it was the Power Glove as well, the release of that. It was Super Mario 3, in fact, and it was Fred Savage. But yeah, so this was the Sega version. Sega basically wanted a bit of product placement in a movie, and they did so through the Sega Game Gear. So the younger brother, who can kind of like see the future, he can see the future through his Game Gear game, which is a version of Surf Ninjas, the film, which is like very better inside itself. Which
really confused me in the film. I was like, why the hell is this in the film?
Made no sense.
It's just like plugged in randomly, but they did release an actual Surf Ninjas game, and the scriptwriter... Actually, the scriptwriter is a bit bizarre, is Dan Gordon. Now, Dan Gordon at this point had written Passenger 57, a Wesley Snipes film. Wow. And after Surf Ninjas, went on to write Wyatt Earp, Murder in the First, The Hurricane with Denzel Washington, that like amazing boxing film, and actually wrote Rambo Last Blood quite recently as well. But anyway, so this guy basically wrote a kids' film that had enough kind of set pieces in that you could turn them into levels on a computer game. Right. Hence why there's like a scene where they're fighting in a restaurant. There's a scene where they're surfing. There's all sorts of like little bits that are just blatantly ways of doing a computer game. So this was like the double impact of trying to sell a computer game and trying to basically live off the back of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, damn, that's utterly fascinating. Wow. So Sega were like right behind this project then?
So they funded a lot of it. Like,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So they...
Jesus.
But the real Surf Ninjas game is absolutely nothing like the game, obviously, the kids playing in the movie, which again is a bit bizarre. But yeah, it was just a way of them doing this film. And I think it's... Again, they sort of go from California, they go to Thailand, I think at one point, sort of Hawaii as well. And it was just a way of kind of showing all these exotic locations, again, with all these martial arts scenes that are sort of quite well done, but also not like violent to the extent where mums would be saying, my kid's not watching this film, which again was kind of what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles suffered with a little bit, as in the cartoon being heavily edited, as we've discussed before, and like nunchucks and stuff like that. This one, I think, like in terms of weapons, they kind of try and keep it low-key.
New Line Cinema presents an awesome, ripping, totally stoked...
Get on with it.
New movie, Surf Ninjas. It's the story of these kids who get booted from their country by this evil dude.
That was then.
I quite like surfing. I was quite looking forward to watching the surfing in this film, having, like I go maybe twice a year on surf holidays and enjoy it. And the first shot of the film is like a shot waist height of them clearly just standing on like a board with like some awful blue screen behind them, and I'm like, man, is this going to be the surfing in the film?
I thought it was going to cut to them being on like a car, and it does that later.
It does a Teen Wolf thing, later.
Yeah.
But then the other funny thing with the kind of surfing moment is they're standing on a beach talking about the surf, and you look out at the sea and it's flat. There's no waves whatsoever, and they get in the sea and the waves are about, I don't know, 15 foot tall, and they're clearly like some pro surfers that have just
don't look anything like the actors.
No.
And like the first like almost 5 minutes is just like slow-mo of surfing whilst like the opening credits are rolling, and it's like, God, this film's quite short and this is really boring. Like, when's the film going to start? So I was a bit surprised, but that is the only real surfing. There's like one bit later on.
There's kind of a bit at the beginning and a bit near the end, and that's it, actually, which is a slightly misleading title when you think about what the film is called.
Well, it's funny, actually, you talk about the title. This film was originally called Surf Ninjas of the South China Seas, and they were like, that's a terrible name. And they called it Surf Warriors, and then they were like, no, Surf Ninjas. God. Ninjas are really cool. So there you go. And at one point as well, they were thinking about getting Jackie Chan in this film. They also thought about Mustachio Man Hulk Hogan being in this film as well, which you can certainly tell by the quality of the film. And they were also going to do an animated TV series to spin off this after its amazing success.
I think a cartoon could have worked with this. As a premise, I think it's got a really good, strong animation kind of base.
And there is a bit of Sega product placement. He's like, what is this game? I was playing Shinobi. Camera.
Yeah.
Shinobi.
It's weird. Where's Shinobi? I thought I was playing Shinobi.
One thing that did make me smile is they live on Venice Beach, which is ridiculous if you look at the house prices there these days. But I was like, I know Venice Beach really well. I've been to Los Angeles enough times. But they're in this, like, they've got a beachfront house pretty much. And the camera kind of follows the father. I think it goes into the kitchen or the dining area, and they're eating. And there's the biggest, most blatant bit of product placement with Fruit Loops on the table, the cereal Fruit Loops. And it's just facing the camera. There's not it's not even to the side slightly. It's literally there in the entire shot. And this box, I swear, they never made boxes of cereal that big. I was like, how big is that fucking box of cereal? It's so product placement. I was thinking, it's just that. I didn't realise the Game Gear was such an intrinsic part of the funding for it.
Maybe I can tell him that I was hammered by the fact I found out I was adopted last night.
You were adopted last night? Why didn't your dad just adopt you when you were a baby?
We were adopted when we were babies.
Like, Rob Schneider is the comedy relief of this film. And actually, I think he does quite a good job of terrible puns all the way through.
I'll be honest. This film did make me laugh quite a few times. I didn't think this was a horrible movie in terms of tone. And I'm not talking about tone lock either. I thought they actually did a good... I thought they did a good job, as in... The thing I laughed at the most that I was not expecting was Leslie Nielsen as Colonel Chi, and he's sharpening an electric carving knife. The old electric carving knives you used to get in the 80s and 90s. He's sharpening one of those, so there's one gag. Then he hands it to like his assistant, who goes, all right, I've got it, pulls it. The cord is still around Colonel Chi's leg, and it just pulls him like arse over tea kettle. And it's such a funny, unexpected, utterly pointless moment that I just burst out laughing. I was like, why? It was funny, but it's like, why? I don't.
There are a few moments like that. There was the moment where they explain why he's got half a face and is like half robot is the fact that he got stampeded on by an elephant, and I mean that made me laugh. To be honest, like,
it's so harsh. That poor man.
It's like, firstly, how the hell are you going to survive getting trodden on the face by an elephant? And they've kind of made him into this half kind of like bicentennial man.
Half Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Bicentennial man.
You mentioned Rob Schneider. His character is, he is the comic relief, but he's also incredibly annoying in this film. And that's
It's Rob Schneider.
Obviously the intention, but he's so frustrating when every time he's in a scene, I'm like, oh man, please get off screen, because it's just like it's obviously the writing, but the gags he's given are so bad that when he...
Oh man, I loved it. I honestly genuinely did.
There's one great gag, like I think it's after they're fighting in the restaurant, and it cuts to like they've had like a mid conversation, and the camera's kind of pulling away past Rob Schneider, and he just says to the chef, he goes, even when they ask you not to put in MSG, you still put it in, right? And the guy goes, yeah, and he goes, thought so. And it's just I really thought that was funny. I thought that was funny because, again, much like the Leslie Nielsen chord pull, there's no reason for it, but it still made me chuckle. I was like, didn't expect to laugh at that, but there we go.
I really like the joke where he's like, oh, everything I say comes true. Oh, I need to stop saying things, otherwise it won't come true. And he's like, oh, now I said it, it won't come true. And it's just like, it was quite funny and quite smart. I didn't find him that annoying, and I find Rob Schneider generally
he's quite an annoying person. He's got an annoying face.
Yeah.
But
I remember like the South Park, like Rob Schneider is the carrot and stuff like that, where he really went to that extreme of him doing those types of films. This is obviously a very early movie for him. But as I said, it's like, he's supposed to be like the same age as the oldest of the two kids, and it's like, no. At one point, I half expected him to be like, oh, he's actually been like a secret agent that's been assigned.
Yeah, and that's the joke or something.
But they just forgot to add that bit in. It's just like, no, he's just like a 30-year-old who happens to go to high school.
Boy, kids. They just don't weigh the risks, do they? Say, you want to grab a cup of coffee?
I will say this about this movie: there are no, and it's obviously because it's the kind of movie they're making. There are no bits where you're sitting there going, well, I hope the plot gets moving soon. It's literally just one scene into the next. And I think that ties into what Nige said about it being like video game levels. And obviously the target audience, they don't want anyone, kids, teenagers, to be bored. And it just, I wrote down in my notes, I wrote 22 minutes in, feels like so much has happened. Because, you've had like surfing, we've had ninja attacks, we've had more surfing, we've had more ninja attacks, we've had like a scene at the school, we've had Barbara Rum.
Oh, that's so weird.
So bizarre, but it made me laugh again, where he's just like, what am I going to do? And then they start doing, the Beach Boys.
Singing Barbara Ran.
But based on this guy called Barbara Rum, who's this like visiting scholar, I guess, but who just happens to be, right at the end of the film, it turns up he's in the same village that they're destined to be kings and princes on.
I did quite like that poor bloke who just kept getting kicked down the stairs. I mean, it made me chuckle. But
yeah, I wrote it down. I wrote guy gets kicked down the stairs, wide shot. We still see him rolling.
And it's like, that he's going to come back right at the end, and he's going to go down one more time. Oh. I mean, and the other bit is. Before they kind of go to the island, they obviously carve some surfboards out of trees, because that's the only way.
A lot, in fact.
Yeah, they're going to get there. And as they kind of surf out, the waves are coming towards them, and then all of a sudden the waves are like going towards the island, and it's like I'm not sure how. I
like Smith is approaching this because he's such a proficient surfer. He's like, well, frankly, this is offensive to myself.
That's just how water works. I don't think it's how the sea works. It's nothing to do with surfing.
Another good gag, another thing that made me laugh in this film, this would have made Nige laugh, I know for a fact, is I think it's when the ninja tries to attack them when they're surfing, and he gets like knocked out, and then there's a shot, and it's like on the beach, and the ninja washes up in the waves and then gets carried back off again. That made me laugh.
The dog looks at him like,
the dog chases after him. It's a really well done shot, because he washes up right with the tide and then washes back out again. Very well done. Highlight of the movie. After the building, their home blows up, right? Rob Schneider actually, I didn't quite understand that. He leaves on the gas or something, and the house.
Well, the guy said he needed to blow up for some reason.
And then it cuts to the house, and these two like surfer dudes walk up to the camera, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, are these like famous celebs at the time or something?
They worked on the script. They were script doctors, so just like throwing all those hilarious puns. But the one of them, the guy on the right, although not particularly well known at that point, was Mitchell Hurwitz, who is best known for creating the TV show Arrested Development. So,
bloody hell, you're kidding.
Like a random... I suppose that's my trivia bit of
Nige's trivia.
This film, because I don't think there's that much other trivia. But yeah, just completely random. But yeah, it's not like... it'd have been better if it had been like Hulk Hogan and like, I don't know, Kurt Russell.
No, it wouldn't have. Hulk Hogan and Sting. Yeah, that would have been great.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, they're both from Venice Beach.
No, Smith. Smith's thinking of Sting the musician. I know you are.
Yes, of course I am.
We mean the wrestler. The wrestler.
It would be better if it was Sting the musician.
That would be even better. I agree.
And Leslie Nielsen, I mean, for me, he's in this film, but he's so like, he's just
I don't know why.
Underused. Yeah, it's like let's put him.
There's something weird about his casting in it, because he would have just been coming off Naked Gun.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, he's such a great comic spoof actor, but he's like, there's a few gags that kind of make you laugh, but generally in this film he's pretty wasted. He's kind of like just on the island making a few like silly jokes, but yeah, I'm not really sure why he took this role.
It's really weird, actually. Like, when they made this film, obviously everyone was like, oh my God, Leslie Nielsen's on this film. It's going to be an amazing set because he's so funny. But he got really into the character and was like, no, I'm the bad guy. And was like really unapproachable on set, like real character actor. And it's like, mate, you're playing a guy with like half a metal face. And this film is frankly ridiculous. Like, I think you can let your guard down. But no, he took it very seriously.
Wow.
So.
Big Smith, make sure to include that huge sigh from Nige there.
Just got a waxy old man-to-wave friction-reducing vehicle. Surfboard.
But some gnarly ninjas give them a blast from their past.
Those boys die tonight.
What did our reviewer think of the film, Nige? Have you got his...
So Michael emailed me with the following review. He said, I loved the movie when I was a kid. This utterly bizarre movie starring Rob Schneider. I watched it far too many times. It's utterly ridiculous with Leslie Nielsen playing an unbelievably bizarre role. I'm probably not sure what he's doing in it or how he got talked into doing the film, which I totally agree with. He loved the fact the game uses a Sega Game Gear as product placement to try and sell consoles, and they worked that into the story and how he saw visions. Rob Schneider's character being vintage Rob Schneider and playing the same role he always played around that time. He's used the words ridiculous quite a few times. It's utterly ridiculous. It only works if you go in just to have a fun watch and have no expectations of it being good or making any type of sense whatsoever. Oh, and Michael Berling also said, and this is Michael Berling's trivia corner, his favourite fact about the movie is the main character is actually the little ninja kid from Red Sonja, which I didn't realise. I loved Red Sonja when I was a kid. So he's kind of given us two ratings. So one was when he was a kid, he'd probably say 8 out of 10, and he loved it at that point. In reality, he can't really give it more than a 6. And it gets a 6 primarily on nostalgia and being totally bizarre. And again, it's one of these films where, as an adult, you're probably not going to enjoy it quite as much. So yeah, thank you so much, Michael, for your review. And thank you for your Michael Berlin's trivia, which is a brand new thing that we will never do again because you're trying to steal my thunder.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you for nicely said, Michael, and thank you for writing in. Etok, what did you think of this film?
Yeah, I went in thinking, this is going to be like bad. And it wasn't fantastic, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. I feel like this is going to be one of those reviews, but I can't put it into words. But yeah, there's things that it made me laugh. It actually kept me entertained. It didn't make any sense. Let's be honest. It makes little sense. But it entertained me. Will I watch it again? Never. Will I ever recommend it? Not really. Is it good? It's not bad. Is it bad? It's not bad. Yes, I think I'll give it 3 out of 10. Yeah, 3 out of 10 for me.
Nige, what did you think of this film?
Also enjoyed this more than I expected to. Like, I quite liked some of the 90s charm. I quite liked, although it was silly, it was really unpretentious. It wasn't really trying to be anything more than it was. Just a silly kind of kids film, really, with a little bit of martial arts thrown in. Sort of interesting locations. The soundtrack's not horrendous. It's all just like California surf type sounds, which is fine. It's weird. Like, you can tell there are a lot of failings with this film. Like, it is not made to be highbrow. It's not even really made to be good. Like, it's one of those almost so bad it's good in kind of a way. And I genuinely found Rob Schneider a good part of this film, and I don't think I could say that about any other film I've ever seen with him in. I think it was nice comic relief. I think Leslie Nielsen in it is so bizarre, but again, it's one of those things where it makes it quite memorable, because it's like, what the fuck is Leslie Nielsen doing in this film? It's just like, he's clearly in location as well. There's a bit where he's like dressed up as a samurai, and it's just like, they could have just green screened him, but no, they actually got him out there. And I think, for those reasons, I'm not going to be unbelievably harsh on this. I was like really on the fence of how low to go. And I'm probably going to regret this, but I'm actually going to give it 5 out of 10.
Wow. Smith, your review.
So, like you guys, I did not expect anything, especially when you said it's available to watch only on YouTube, and that is the only place you can find this film. So I kind of went into this thinking it was going to be an absolute disaster, and I think, like you guys, I kind of enjoyed it for what it was. I actually think like it probably had a bit more of a story arc than the first Turtles film, arguably. As in,
whoa! Don't bring Turtles into this, Smith. Otherwise, we're going to have real problems.
As in, I you know, when we had the chat about Turtles, I think the beef was that film kind of just veered off like halfway through, from what I remember. Whereas this did kind of have a beginning, a middle, and an end, despite the beginning, middle, and end being utterly bonkers. Leslie Nielsen, I think he's one of my favourite spoof comedy actors. But so I was a bit disappointed when he really wasn't in it very much, and then the writing's not sharp enough, so he gets lost in the film. The music is kind of pretty naff, but it kind of suits the film. And I think if you were watching this like when you were 15, 16, I can see why you'd like it. But for me, like 2022, I'm nearly 39. I kind of,
I love your rationale. I'm a 39-year-old watching Surf Ninjas.
I'm an adult. I cannot like this film. I'm going to give this 4.5 out of 10.
You're giving what?
Smith, an adult, says 4.5.
So guys, look, I mean, it was a fun film, but what do you think? Email us on offradarpod@gmail.com, tweet us at offradarpodcast. Let us know what you think of Surf Ninjas, and get in touch, give us your rating, and suggest another film, maybe without surfing on ninjas in next time, for us to watch.